You're processed into an Imperial Academy somewhere on a mid-rim planet. Congratulations! You're a Stormtrooper cadet. Within the first hour, your name is taken from you and replaced with a number TK6641, and you're handed a white uniform that fits the same as everyone else's. The first weapons drill happens 3 days in. The instructor lines your entire cohort up in front of a row of stationary targets and tells you to fire. Around you, bolts go wide, clip the edges, or miss completely. Yours hit dead center, every single one, so you fire again to make sure it wasn't random. Dead center again. The cadet next to you fires 4 shots and hits the wall behind the target, so you watch him do it again, trying to understand how that's even possible. But it keeps happening. Bolt after bolt, sailing past the target and into the back wall, and you start to understand that something is different about you. The instructor walks the line after the drill, stopping at each target to check the groupings. He gets to yours and stands there for a moment, looking at the cluster of burns all sitting in the center ring. Then, he looks at you, then back at the target. He doesn't say, "Well done." He doesn't say anything positive at all. He just pulls a datapad from his belt, enters something, and moves on. 2 days later, a different instructor pulls you out of the morning formation and walks you to a smaller training room where 6 other cadets are already standing in a line. You don't know any of them. The instructor tells you that you've been reassigned to an advanced track and that your performance is being monitored directly. He says it the way someone says a thing that sounds like good news, but isn't. You don't know yet what happens to people who stand out. You're a few months into academy training now, and your scores haven't stopped climbing. The advanced track runs harder drills than the main cohort. Moving targets. Targets behind obstacles. Targets that drop and reappear at different heights. You hit all of them, so the instructors add more. They put you in a simulation where 6 targets come up at random positions, and you have to hit all 6 before a timer runs out. You do it on the first try, so they cut the timer in half. You do it again. They cut it again. You keep going until the timer is so short that missing even once would mean failing. And then you stop missing because there's nothing left to cut. The problem is that every time you finish a drill, the instructor holds your results up to the rest of the group, with your target sheet showing a tight cluster of burns in the center ring. He does this to motivate them. But what it actually does is make 12 other cadets decide that you are their personal problem. So during hand-to-hand drills, they make sure to be paired with you, and they hit harder than the exercise requires. You win those too, which makes it worse. At the end of the term, your scores are posted on the board with your designation at the top by a wide margin. The cadet below you has scores that are already good enough to graduate. You're 30 points above him. 2 cadets below that are already being flagged for reassignment to ground support roles because their accuracy is too low to pass the next round of evaluation. Then graduation comes. You line up with everyone else, and they hand you the same helmet as the cadet who hit the back wall on his first drill. That helmet fits exactly the same as his. Somewhere in the Empire, an officer is reading your file. And they have a very specific use in mind for someone who can actually shoot. Your first deployment puts you on an outer rim planet called Scarif's Outer Territories, a garrison posting where a small rebel cell has been raiding Imperial supply routes for weeks. The briefing is short. Move in. Push the rebels back. Secure the route. Your squad of 12 fans out through a series of low buildings, with bolts already flying before you've reached the first position. That's when you see what real combat looks like for most Stormtroopers. The trooper to your left fires 6 shots at a rebel ducking behind a crate 10 meters away and hits the crate twice with the other 4, going wide into the wall behind him. The trooper to your right fires at a rebel running across an open gap between 2 buildings and misses every single shot, so the rebel makes it across and gets into a better position, which makes the whole left side of your advance harder to push through. You need to fix the left side first, so you move to a better angle, line up on the rebel behind the crate, and put him down with 1 shot. Then you turn to the right side. Track the rebel who made it across the gap. Wait for him to move to a new position, and drop him the moment he steps out. A third rebel tries to pull back toward a doorway to get cover, but you're already moving to cut off the angle, so you put the shot in before he reaches it. 3 targets, 3 shots, and the whole advance opens up. The squad pushes through, and the rebel cell pulls back, so the route is secured inside 20 minutes. That's your first real fight as a Stormtrooper, and by any measure, it goes well. A week later, a transfer order with your designation on it comes through from a Special Operations Detachment, and the name at the top of the order is one you're not allowed to say out loud. The Special Operations Detachment is based on a Star Destroyer, and from the moment you join it, the missions are a different thing entirely. Your unit is 12 troopers, each picked for a specific reason. You're the shooter. There's a trooper called TK-0991 who can breach any door in the Empire in under 4 seconds. Another one, TK-3307, knows every Imperial security protocol from memory, so he can talk your unit through checkpoints without raising flags. The rest fill other roles. It's the most capable group you've ever been around, and for the first time since the Academy, the people next to you are worth standing next to. The missions come in fast. A rebel safe house on a populated station needs to be cleared without drawing attention from civilians in the surrounding areas, so your unit goes in through a side corridor, with you taking the first position at the front. You breach the door and move through the rooms quickly, with your blaster finding each target before they can reach cover. The whole thing is done in under 2 minutes. Then, there's an ambush on a mountain pass where a rebel convoy needs to be stopped before it reaches a pickup point. You take a position on the ridge above the pass and provide cover fire from above, with your shots keeping the rebel drivers pinned behind their transports, while the rest of your unit moves in from the sides. Mission after mission, your kill count goes up. After each one, the officer in charge writes something into a file and closes it. You never see what it says. You're not meant to. What you are meant to do is show up, do the job better than anyone else in the unit, and then go back to your bunk and wait for the next briefing. The officer has a new mission. This one involves a captured rebel ship and a very important prisoner. The mission is straightforward on paper. A rebel ship has been boarded and secured in the hangar of your Star Destroyer, and your unit's job is to hold the corridors while the prisoner is moved to interrogation. You take a position at the far end of the main corridor with a clear line down the full length of it, because that's where you're most useful. The rest of your unit spreads out across the adjoining passages. The prisoner transfer starts, and for the first 2 minutes, everything holds. Then, a second rebel boarding party cuts through the hull on the port side, and the whole ship breaks into chaos. Bolts start going in every direction, with troopers from 3 different units all firing into the same corridors at the same time, and hitting nothing in particular. The rebels push hard from the portside breach, trying to reach the hangar where their ship is still docked, and the troopers between you and them start pulling back instead of holding their positions, so the rebels get further down the corridor than they should. You need to stop the advance before they reach the hangar, so you move forward along the wall with your blaster tracking the lead rebel, and you drop him before he reaches the next doorway. Then, you drop the one behind him. Then, the one using a side panel for cover, because you can see his shoulder, and that's enough. The rebels pull back toward the breach, trying to regroup, but you're already cutting off the angle, so 2 more go down before they make it through. The corridor is clear. The boarding party pulls back to their breach point, and the situation holds. A senior officer walks the length of the corridor afterward, with his hands behind his back, and stops to look at the bodies on the floor. Then, he keys his comm and announces to the whole ship that the threat has been neutralized, thanks to the Empire's finest. Your report, which details exactly how the portside breach happened in the first place, lands on a desk somewhere and is never opened. Skip forward a bit, and you're assigned to Lord Vader's personal detail aboard the Executor. The assignment comes with no explanation and no ceremony. One day, you're with your unit, and the next, your designation appears on a new roster with a posting to the largest ship in the Imperial fleet. That's it. You report to your station, take your position outside a set of corridor junctions near Vader's quarters, and stand there. The first thing you learn is that standing near Vader means watching officers get choked on a regular basis. Not for major failures either. An admiral gets lifted off the floor and held against the wall for a full minute because a report reached Vader 4 hours late. A commander gets dragged sideways through the air and dropped in a heap because he gave Vader an estimate instead of a confirmed number. You watch all of this from your post with your blaster at your side, because your job is to be a presence, not to react. So you stand straight and keep your position while the bodies get carried out. 2 weeks into the posting, a rebel infiltrator gets through 2 separate security checkpoints and makes it into the corridor outside Vader's quarters. The infiltrator needs to be stopped before he reaches the door, so you step out from your post, track him moving fast along the wall, and put 1 shot through his chest before he closes half the distance. He goes down 12 meters from Vader's door. Vader walks out a moment later, steps past the body without slowing down, and continues up the corridor with his cape moving behind him. That's it. No acknowledgement. No pause. You drag the body to the side to clear the corridor, and a cleaning droid handles the rest 10 minutes later. The rebellion is getting bolder, and Command has decided that a certain forest moon needs a garrison that can actually hold its ground. You're deployed to the forest moon of Endor as part of the garrison protecting the shield generator bunker, and within the first day, it's clear that this posting is different from anything before it. The garrison has over 100 troopers spread across the forest floor and the bunker perimeter, and the Imperial assessment of the local wildlife is that it presents no meaningful threat. The creatures living in the trees are small, move on 2 legs, and carry primitive weapons. Rocks and sticks, the briefing says. You read it twice trying to find the part where it gets more concerning. It doesn't. The attack starts without warning. One moment the perimeter is holding, and the next a log the size of a speeder swings out of the trees on a rope and takes out an ATST by catching it across the side, with enough force to knock it sideways off its footing. Then, rope traps snap up from the ground and pull 3 troopers straight into the branches above. Then, rocks start coming from every direction at once, which causes troopers to break their positions and scatter, so the whole perimeter collapses inside a few minutes. You need to hold something, so you fall back to a large tree trunk near the bunker entrance and set a position there, with your blaster tracking the movement in the branches above. 3 Ewoks are working their way around the left side, trying to flank the entrance, so you put shots close enough to force them back behind cover and keep them pinned. Then 2 more come from the right, and you turn and push them back the same way. You're holding the position. It's working. You have the entrance covered, and the flanks pushed back. That's when a catapult somewhere in the trees launches a boulder the size of a speeder directly at your position. The boulder hits the tree trunk just above your position and sends you sideways across the ground, with your armor taking the impact and your blaster spinning out of your hand. You push yourself up onto one knee, with one arm not responding the way it should, and look around at what's left of the perimeter. Troopers are running in every direction. The bunker entrance is open. The generator is unguarded. You need to get to the generator, so you find your blaster in the dirt a few meters away, check the power cell with your one working arm, and start walking toward the bunker entrance. Every other trooper still on the ground is moving away from it, but the mission is to protect that generator, and you are the only one left who is still moving toward it. You make it through the entrance and down the corridor inside, with your boots on the metal floor and your blaster up, and you get to within 50 meters of the generator room before a single Ewok drops out of a ventilation gap in the ceiling and lands directly on top of your helmet. It wraps both arms around your visor and pulls forward, so your whole upper body tips down and your legs keep moving, and you walk straight into the wall at full speed with the Ewok still attached to your face. Your helmet hits the wall. Your head hits the inside of your helmet. You go down. That's it. That's how it ends. Not on a Star Destroyer corridor, not on a mountain pass, not in any of the dozen missions where something should have killed you but didn't. Here, on a forest moon, taken out by a creature the briefing described as a non-threat. 50 meters from the objective, you were the only one still trying to reach. Above the moon, the Death Star starts to break apart. Your designation is removed from the Imperial roster. There's another Stormtrooper out there who can actually aim. Probably. But the Empire will never think to look.